New details on the case against Noor Salman. She's the widow of the gunman who terrorized Pulse nightclub and brutally ended 49 lives. She is charged with helping her husband carry out the attack. WESH 2 News reporter Greg Fox explains how a hearing today could be crucial in Salman's defense.
Dr. Bruce Frumkin is a clinical psychologist, a potential defense witness.
How are you?
All right. How you feeling about the progress so far?
We progress.
Noor Salman's attorneys are hoping that progress includes the judge allowing the expert to testify about her state of mind when she was being questioned by police and the FBI.
This is with regards to her susceptibility to make an invalid statement.
On the morning of the Pulse nightclub attack, Fort Pierce police went to her apartment, asked her for permission to search it, and placed her in a police car. She was later questioned at an FBI office before she was read her rights. According to Frumkin's website, he is an expert on competency to waive Miranda rights, interrogative suggestibility, and false coerced confessions. But he declined to talk about it.
Doctor, can you tell us if a person believes typically that they're being viewed as a suspect when questioned by police?
I'm sorry, I don't talk about cases while I'm testifying.
Testimony by this defense expert witness is related to evidence that was reviewed in court before the holidays. The judge is deciding whether or not to allow alleged statements made by Noor Salman to the FBI. Those statements, handwritten by an FBI agent, were allegedly initialed by Salman, indicating they were true. The statements read, "I knew when he left the house he was going to Orlando to attack the Pulse nightclub. And I'm very sorry I lied to the FBI. These are my words." The judge has yet to rule on the admissibility of the statements and has given no indication when he will rule on the defense expert's testimony. In Orlando, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Noor Salman's trial is scheduled to begin March 1st.
Was Noor Salman influenced by terrorists to help her husband attack the Pulse nightclub?
That was a central question during a hearing today as attorneys prepare for her trial in March on charges of lying to the government and aiding and abetting a terrorist organization.
WESH 2's Greg Fox breaks down what happened on the final day of these critical hearings.
Right now, Noor Salman's defense team describes her demeanor as fragile.
But it's very, very difficult. She's away from her 4-year-old son. She's been locked up for a year for something she didn't do.
The widow of the Pulse nightclub gunman listened as attorneys questioned a government witness. He's William Braniff, a counterterrorism expert from the University of Maryland. He examined Omar Mateen's phone and online accounts and analyzed the influence ISIS messages of hate and violence may have had on Mateen before the massacre. When asked by the prosecutor, "What does this material tell you?" Braniff said, "The Islamic State inspires people to engage in violence." But when cross-examined by the defense, Braniff said, "I have not reviewed online history or social media posts by Mateen's wife. So you know nothing about her. I have not been asked to do that." Testimony by the counterterrorism expert capped 3 days of testimony in federal court in which a range of evidence was debated to be either included or excluded at trial. So far, the defense believes the court has treated their client fairly.
We are satisfied that we've gotten a full and careful hearing on all the issues, and that's really what I'm seeking. If I think at the end of the day a full and careful hearing is going to arrive at justice for our client.
The judge ruled that Braniff will be able to testify at trial, and the judge will later release a ruling spelling out exactly what he can and cannot say. In Orlando, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
WESH 2 Investigates gets a first look at evidence in the case against Noor Salman.
The widow of the Pulse nightclub mass murderer goes on trial in March. This newly unsealed collection of videos will be shown to the jury. And as WESH 2's Greg Fox reports, the new video includes a cell phone video from inside the club during all the chaos.
Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Hands up, hands up. Keep your hands up, come on.
This is some of the 11 hours of body-worn camera footage from officers responding to the Pulse nightclub massacre. But in order for jury members to understand the timeline of events during the trial of the gunman's widow, Noor Salman, the video has been pared down. WESH 2 Investigates requested and was allowed to view but not copy other material not previously released. Police dash camera video, Pulse security camera video that includes animation to help jury members, and one victim's cell phone video. The security video and animation show gunman Omar Mateen's movements, police entering the club, and victims' bodies. The video is grainy and obscured.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Orlando.
WESH 2 News brought you that victim 911 call a few months after the attack, and it appears to be the same voice heard on a newly unsealed cell phone video from a victim huddling in a bathroom with Mateen just steps away. On the video, you can hear him say, "Quiet," then heavy breathing, while others are yelling, "Help, help," then multiple gunshots and screaming, "Please, God, please, please." The trembling victim says, "Guys, stay cool." The jury will also get to see video WESH 2 News previously showed you of Mateen, Salman, and their son visiting a Kissimmee mosque just 4 days before the attack. Salman is charged with helping her husband plan the attack and lying to the government.
In less than a week, the widow of the Pulse nightclub gunman will go on trial. Noor Salman is facing 2 charges, including helping a terrorist organization, and could face life if convicted. WESH News investigative reporter Greg Fox has the latest on key evidence that the jury will get to see and hear.
Attorneys for Noor Salman left the federal courthouse after a closed hearing, the last hearing before the wife of the Pulse nightclub gunman goes to trial next Thursday. In one of the last rulings before jury selection begins, the judge in the case released this 40-page ruling that tells the defense and the government what evidence can be used and not used at trial. The decision focuses on a defense motion that covers testimony and evidence.
Come on, come on, come on. Hands up, hands up. Keep your hands up, come on.
Some of the most controversial evidence includes police body cam video and Pulse nightclub surveillance video while the gunman was inside. There is also video of Salman, her husband, and son visiting a Kissimmee mosque after visiting Orlando just before the nightclub massacre. In the ruling, the judge is allowing the following: testimony from the witness known only as Nemo, that he fabricated stories for Omar Mateen to cover up his extramarital affairs. Evidence of domestic violence against Salman, her medical records, and her text messages with Mateen are all in. These are considered victories for Salman's defense. Considered victories for the government, allowing the jury to see pulse video and body cam video, but not human bodies in the nightclub. The government can also show records of lavish spending by Salman, the mosque video, 911 calls during the attack, and evidence of Salman at a shooting range. Salman is charged with aiding and abetting a terrorist organization and obstruction of justice. In Orlando, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Just moments ago, we learned Noor Salman has been found not guilty on all counts. We want to go to WESH 2's Greg Fox, again outside the courthouse there. He's waiting on the defense, Jasmine, as you just mentioned, to come out and make a statement. Greg, tell us again about what you heard from the defense attorneys after finding out Noor Salman was not guilty.
Yeah, Charles Swift, as we mentioned a moment ago in the hallway, just completely red-faced as he was walking at a brisk pace down to the attorney's room where they can talk privately in between sessions in court. And he said, yeah, the losers are going to talk first, and prosecution, as we saw a couple of minutes ago, they did. I asked him about the possible processing of Noor Salman to get her out of the courthouse today, or whether they would take her back to some kind of a holding facility. Remember, during most of this case, and since she's been in government custody, they've said really nothing about her exact location, although we know that she has occasionally stayed at a variety of Central Florida lockups in leading up to this, and completely for her security in this case. But whether or not she gets processed out of here in soon fashion, or potentially a few hours later this afternoon, or maybe even tomorrow, we don't know that yet. But we're waiting for the defense to come down. Charles Swift, Linda Moreno, they have been the primary attorneys on this case. You'll know Linda Moreno really handled the jury selection in this process, and apparently, given the results today, they did a good job in picking jurors that apparently saw the more sympathetic side in Noor Salman. Remember, in the closing arguments, the government characterizing Noor Salman as cold and callous and helping her husband to kill 49 people inside the Pulse nightclub and injure at least 68 other people. The defense calling her simple, naive, someone who was a battered wife, someone who couldn't possibly have known the scheme that was being concocted by Omar Mateen. And obviously the jury believed that presentation in returning a not guilty verdict on both counts of this case, the aiding and abetting of material support for a terrorist organization and the obstruction of justice charge.
I have to wonder if she's just not emotionally there, especially in light of this verdict. She may have been one of the folks hoping for a guilty verdict.
And not just hoping, but expecting. I think that as they were seeing the evidence and the testimony in this case that was reported by you and our WESH 2 News team and going on for day after day after day, I think they probably got a sense that this was going pretty well for the government's case. I will say that in the year leading up to this, since her arrest in January of last year, I would say that the government should be pretty happy with most of the rulings coming from Paul Byron, because you know, you're talking about a judge who's a stickler for details. He's a stickler for promptness, as you know, Amanda, and the government did an extremely thorough job of presenting the evidence. What we saw today from the verdict is obviously that they simply believe the defense more. And it looks like we've got some people coming up to the podium now. Let's listen.
Spokesperson and representative. This is Salman, S-A-L-M-A-N. A-L is his first name. He's the uncle of Noor. On this Good Friday, the family really wants to very first say that we're very sorry for the family members and friends of the 49 victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting, and also the survivors of that horrible attack. Really, that is the top most important thing the family wants you all to know, irregardless of their happiness today at the verdict.
I said that day one, that she is innocent, and I will stand here in front of you when the jury come up with the verdict to tell you, I told you so, and now I came here to tell you, I told you so, she's innocent. When I believe she's innocent, she is innocent. We stood by her, and that's what she is.
Summarizing some of the comments from Al Salman, Sam Salman, Susie, some of their comments here, there was the Good Friday reference to start off that news conference from Al Salman. He's saying it's a Good Friday for a Christian. They believed it.
Muslims too. He
and
was
Muslims, yeah, and he was recognizing that they had a lot of faith in the jury to be able to sift through the evidence and to maybe shoot down some of what the government was trying to pass off as the evidence in this case and believe more of the experts and the testimony and evidence that was brought forth by the defense team. Sam Salman, he says, we have justice now, we have justice now. He repeated that several times. Al Salman, again, he says it's going to be difficult for her to make up for 2 years of her life. She was in custody for 14 months, but Amanda, you know, this was from the morning of Pulse when her husband was still alive inside Pulse before police had gone in, rescued the remaining survivors in there and killed him. She was under scrutiny. She was under the spotlight, and the family, of course, in large measure feels like the jury has lifted that from them today. It's when they had the not guilty verdict for aiding and abetting material support for a terrorist organization. That would have meant, it's a lot of language, it's a mouthful. That would have meant that Mateen took direct orders from the Islamic State to carry out the Pulse nightclub attack. So I think what a lot of reporters were thinking, well, you know, they didn't really prove that because he saw videos and he saw news reports from leaders in ISIS saying during the holy month of Ramadan in 2016, you should go out and you should commit violence, you should commit terrorist acts. So they were waiting for the part B to that initial count, which was aiding and abetting material, attempted material support to a terrorist organization, which would have only meant that Mateen had decided on his own after seeing some of those videos and news reports to carry this out. And then when that was a not guilty, I think from there it was a landslide into the obstruction charge at the end. They felt like that's going to be a not guilty also, and that's what happened.
I've long had a philosophy on how to win a case, and that's don't lose. And there was no point in time during the government's case that I felt that we had lost. In the part. I keep waiting for that moment. I've been in many trials, and I know the moment when I lost. And that moment never came. The government didn't deliver on its promises, and as we saw it, this was a case where the more we learned, the better Noor Salman looked.
Yes, and as we're sorting through all of the statements made from the defense attorneys, we're going to get back out to one of our reporters, Greg Fox, who's been in the courthouse throughout this trial for us. Greg, what are you getting after we heard from them finally as they stepped outside of the courthouse?
Well, I got a chance to talk to Fritz Scheller, who's been working with Linda Moreno and Charles Swift on the defense team for Noor Salman. And we were trying to nail down the process and the timing, really, of Noor Salman being released to freedom, really, for the first time in 14 months since her arrest in January of last year. So he said that the process would be fairly quick. He would not confirm or deny that it's going to happen either here at the federal courthouse or whether it's going to happen at a local holding facility. Don't forget, there's not only just local county jails like Orange, Osceola, Seminole, but there's also the reception center that's run by the state that's out on the beach line. So there are a number of places where she could have been held in the recent days here, and especially during the 13 hours of deliberations that spread across 2 days and about 40 minutes of this morning. So he said it will be fairly quick. Exactly from where and at what time, we just don't know right now. You know, getting back to some of these comments that Noor Salman's family had made, and Fritz Scheller also echoed these in some comments that I just posted on my Facebook page and my Twitter page. But he said essentially, as the family did, that this was a very, very tough circumstance for Noor Salman, being separated from her 5-year-old son, Zachariah, they call him Zachy, and really just not being able to have contact with him as a mother of a young child. That really wore on her, and at times made it difficult for her to be able to communicate back and forth with the defense the information they really needed from her to counter what the government was saying in its testimony and evidence. So Fritz Scheller, one of her attorneys, said she was tremendously relieved to finally have that off of her back now with this acquittal on both counts here at the federal courthouse today.
All right, Greg, thank you for that.
It's a great day for Miss Salman. She just needs some time to be with her family right now.
Her husband carried out the horror inside Pulse nightclub nearly 2 years ago.
We're very sorry for the family members and friends of the 49 victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Today, after a month-long trial, the jury decided Noor Salman is not responsible for her husband's sins.
I said that day one that she's innocent.
12 ordinary citizens were heroes today, the last heroes of the Pulse.
Now, as Orlando and Central Florida reflect on this final chapter, Salman looks to the future.
Noor can go home now to her son, Zach, resume her life, and try to pick up the pieces from 2 years in jail.
Local, live, late-breaking. WESH 2 News starts now.
The jury's the hero. There's no question about it. 12 ordinary citizens were heroes.
The widow of the Pulse nightclub shooter is now a free woman. Noor Salman was acquitted today of obstruction of justice and aiding and abetting a terrorist. Thank you for joining us. I'm Stuart Moore.
And I'm Michelle Imparato. A jury found Salman not guilty today, and our cameras were rolling as she left the Orange County jail. Our sketch artist in the courtroom captured her face as she learned she was free. And Salman took this picture with her attorneys today, shortly after, smiling and learning her fate. Right now, Salman is on a plane. WESH 2 News has complete team coverage of today's long-awaited verdict, and we have a team of reporters covering this story across Central Florida. We begin with WESH 2's Greg Fox, who was outside of the jail when Salman walked free. Greg.
And she walked out of the jail, the 33rd Street booking facility here right behind me, wearing the same clothes that she wore in court when she had that verdict read out loud this morning. Of course, bursting into tears and excitement and hugging and embracing her attorneys. One of her attorneys escorted her from the front door while there were deputies with rifles stationed on the sidewalk and near some of the parking spaces here for her protection. But she was in a car and gone in seconds.
She looks scared and worn down, but she's free.
Can you talk to us? Are you happy to be out at least? It's a great day for Miss Salman. She just needs some time to be with her family right now.
Noor Salman left the Orange County jail after being in custody for the past 14 months, reportedly bound for a private jet to California.
Noor, can you tell us, are you relieved to be out, and are you glad for what the jury did for you?
She is confident in the jury system.
Weeping and burying her face in her hands, she answered none of my questions, but her family did speak after she was acquitted in federal court.
It's Good Friday for everybody. It's Holy Friday for a Muslim and Good Friday for a Christian. And I want to say thank you, Lord. for getting my niece free.
Her uncles and a cousin told reporters there was never a doubt the jury would find the widow of the Pulse nightclub gunman not guilty in connection with the massacre, but they did address the victims and their families.
I feel so bad for them, and I lost a child. I know how it feels. So no matter what's going to happen between Noor being guilty or non-guilty, it's not going to bring them back.
Salman will rejoin her 5-year-old son and, according to her family, will be there in time to color Easter eggs and try to regain lost time.
To say that the legal team for Noor Salman was elated at their court victory is a tremendous understatement. Just a couple of minutes after the verdict was read, Charles Swift, the lead attorney in her case, stopped me in the hallway and said, make sure you let the other reporters know that we'll be down to make our statement on this case after the prosecution because losers go first. I'm going to send it over to Bob Hazen over at the federal courthouse right now. Bob.